Welcome back to Beach Park District 3's Beyond the Bell. As you know, I'm always excited to introduce our guests, but today's guest is a little bit different. She's an incredible clinician, a fierce advocate for our students, and a wealth of knowledge when it comes to special education services. But more importantly than that, than all of those accolades, she holds the most difficult job in Beach Park District 3, being married to this guy. She is my favorite clinician, my better half, the only person in Beach Park District 3 who can actually give me an unsatisfactory rating on the majority of my assignments that I'm required to complete at home. I've seen her firsthand do the late nights, working on the paperwork, and I also see the joy that she feels when students truly find their voice. Today, I look forward to providing you, our audience, with an opportunity to hear it firsthand from her. Please join me in welcoming one of Beach Park District 3's finest speech language pathologists and my wife, Laura Cappozzo. Hello, Laura. What is up? Thank you so much for spending time with me.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm a little nervous and excited at the same time,
Yeah, well, we're all nervous at first, and as soon as you get your first question under your belt, you're going to completely forget about it, and you and I are just going to hang out and have a good time. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being able to find the time to spend with me on Beyond the Bell. If you wouldn't mind, would you please just take a minute to introduce yourself to our audience? Tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and some of your history here in Beach Park.
My name is Laura Cappozzo, and I am a speech language pathologist. I work at Oak Crest Elementary, and I have worked in the Beach Park School District since January of 2006.
2006. All right. So you've been here for 20 years.
Yes.
Outside of speech pathology, is there anything else that you do at the building more than being a speech pathologist?
Oh, gosh. Well, I am on the PBS Tier 1 team, and so I do a lot with PBIS and our monthly assemblies and Student of the Month. I also help with MTSS committee. I work on the safety committee. Yep, important. And I am part of the social committee as well. So hosting monthly luncheons, school outings, things like that.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I've driven by the building and I've been in your building at the beginning of the day. Is there any duties that you fulfill prior to the start of the day when kids walk in?
Well, I try to make it to car drop off and car pickup every day. I'm not there all the time, but I try to be there most of the time because that's a great time of day to see kids and say hello and good morning, get your hugs, and then at the end of the day, say goodbye. And sometimes there's some music, usually when the weather is warm. When it's cold outside, we're just like in and out to the car. It's cold.
Yeah, it's efficient. Oak Crest has got a lot going on with the traffic there. You guys are pretty efficient. So for
Yeah, we
those,
have a system.
yeah, you do have a system. For those that might not know, what exactly does an SLP do in an elementary setting?
Wow, that's such a big question. So in a school setting, so I think most people don't know when you go to grad school and after your 4-year degree, you have a 3-year graduate school program. In that graduate program, all SLPs go through the same training and we take many different classes on many different things. Before you graduate, you do 2 internships. You do a medical internship and a school-based internship. And when you take a medical track as an SLP, a lot of that is like swallowing disorders, modifying diets. It's working on cognition, voice, aphasia. A lot of patients who have had strokes work on learning to speak again. And when you go into a school, the job looks a little bit different. So most people will be like, my kid sounds just fine. And a lot of speech pathologists, a big part of our job is to work on speech sound disorders, which that can be anywhere from articulation to a phonological disorder to apraxia, which is a motor planning disorder. We also work on building language, expressive language. Those are the words that we use to communicate, formulate sentences, correct grammar. We work on comprehension. So those are the things that our kids can show us they know. That's how they demonstrate their knowledge. I work on building vocabulary. I have students who work on fluency or stuttering. We have a lot of kids in our building who use AAC devices. And so a lot of that is done by a speech pathologist and carried over by classroom teachers. So
What's an
there's a lot
AHC?
that goes into that job. It's an augmentative alternative communication device. So a lot of times in our district, it might look like an iPad, and it helps facilitate communication because a lot of kids have communication, but it also aids in communication. So maybe in that moment, they don't have the words or they don't know how to express what they're trying to tell you, and they can use that device to communicate.
So I heard you say that you kind of walked through a little bit of your internship. You have medical or you have education. So
Mhm.
I know because I got to experience it with you just working in two different atmospheres. But I think that for most educators, they don't realize that there are requirements for your clinical hours. And I guess does that guide your decision? And what kind of time did you spend in a hospital versus spending time in a school?
Yeah, so grad school is 2.5 to 3 years, depending on which university you go to. Once you've finished all of your core classes, and while you're doing core classes, you have clients that you see, and those sessions are led by your professors or your teachers. They're monitored, they're very highly structured, they're observed. So you practice that while you're in grad school. But once you've completed the program, you have, and every grad school is different. Mine were 12-week internships. So I worked 12 weeks in a hospital setting, and then I did 12 weeks in a school setting. And a lot of people or SLPs use that time to decide what kind of setting they like, what kind of population you want to work with. And some people go into it being like, oh, I want to be a medically based SLP or a school based SLP. And then they do the internship and they're like, whoa, that's not for me. And then they shift directions. And that's cool too. Like, it's a great opportunity to give you a picture of all the different places you can work and what kind of skills you want to utilize and what kind of population you want to work with. And from that, then you get to pick your job. Um, and then your first year in your career after you finish grad school, after you finish your internship, you have a clinical fellowship year. And that's your first year as a professional in which you have a supervisor, in which you are still continued to be monitored, supported. And then after that year, you can be an independent clinician.
Was there a specific moment then for you that guided you into education as opposed to the hospital or the medical?
Well, my story is a little different. I didn't quite go into speech pathology because I knew what it was or I was like really passionate about it. I went into it because my mom was an educator and it was time to go to college and I really wanted to go to the University of Iowa. I wanted to be a physical therapist. I got into the program and my mom was like, you got to stay in state. And so she took me to visit ISU, Illinois State, loved it, but came to find out they didn't have a physical therapy program. And so my mom, who was an educator, was like, you should be a speech pathologist, which I had no clue what a speech pathologist was. So I didn't really know what I was even getting into. So after my 4 years, I graduated. And so I stayed an extra 6 months. And at that time, my lease was up. And my girlfriend and I had decided, like, hey, let's go back home. So I went home, and my mom was like, you got to get a job in your career. And I was like, well, I don't actually even know what to do. She was like, CEDAL, which is a special education district of Lake County, was hiring. And she sent me in that direction. So I applied for the job at CEDAL, and the lady at CEDAL hired me. And she was like, you're going to go work in Beach Park. And I was like, okay. I was like, I've never heard of Beach Park. I am from Lake County. I'm from Fox Lake. I started in January of 2006 through CEDAL working for Beach Park 4 days. And 1 day a week, I worked at John Powers, which is a deaf and hard of hearing school. And that's kind of what pushed me into education. Fast forward a couple of years, the state of Illinois was like, you can no longer work as a speech pathologist. It's called a speech and language paraprofessional without your master's degree. So at that time, I had to drop everything. I went back to school and I had already spent so much time in the school and loved it so much that it was just natural. I was coming back to this job.
That's a story right there.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, shout out to your mom because I mean, if you weren't at Oak Crest, this wouldn't
Yeah.
probably be a reality here,
I
right?
know. Shout out to Loretta.
This is just another moment where parents knew best. It just keeps
Yeah.
resurfacing on the podcast, and you are number like 6 or 7. That's a red bird from you from
Yeah.
ISU.
Yeah.
So
We represent. We're strong.
you do represent. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
SLPs have a unique perspective on a child's development. What's one thing that you wish every classroom teacher understood about the communication challenges some of the students face?
Working at Oak Crest, it is a different beast. A lot of our teachers, because I don't clearly, I'll explain this for people who don't know, maybe people in the community, but Oak Crest houses all of the special education programs except for our TABS program, which is hosted at Kenneth Murphy. So our teachers are very familiar with special education, with communication delays. So, shout out to our teachers because they're great. And a lot of them have really good instincts and they come to me when they think something is off. So, I just think our teachers have good instinct and they understand communication. And I think they understand how important that is to education. So, I don't know what I would say that I wish they knew because I feel like they already have a good handle on that and how important communication is at school every day.
What's something they might come to you with that they wouldn't really know, but they say, "Hey, Laura, I think there might be a situation here. Can you give me some feedback?" What would be
Yeah,
a situation?
you know what? I also attend a lot of PST meetings, which are problem solving team meetings, and I always go in the beginning just to kind of listen to hear teachers or interventionists talk about where they're seeing weaknesses and how we can provide intervention to improve in those areas. And I find a lot of people don't know that they can come to me and talk to me about comprehension. It's something that I'm I'm pretty knowledgeable about, and a lot of teachers or interventionists will be like, I know they have issues with comprehension. I just don't know where that breakdown is occurring. And so I think this year I've worked a lot with our interventionists and other special education teachers just on like, how do we look at comprehension? How do we assess comprehension? How do you determine where that breakdown is occurring? And how can you work on that with your kids? So I think that that's an area where I found this year I've been able to provide support as well as vocabulary. Vocabulary is such a broad term, right? Like when we talk about vocabulary, there are the words that we understand and the words that we use. And vocabulary, if you ask me, is the key to education because if we don't understand words, it's hard to comprehend. If we don't know what words to use to express ourselves, we're not going to be able to tell our teachers what we know. So it's pretty key. And so, but it is a broad term. And so a lot of times they can help teachers like, hey, let's pinpoint where that vocabulary is breaking down and what type of words should we be front loading with these kids.
Thank you for that. I heard you mention you came from CEDAL, you were placed in our district. So thinking
Mhm.
back to your first year in Beach Park District 3, what was a big surprise to you about the district's climate compared to your expectations?
Yeah, it was my very first job in education. I've had many jobs, but this was like my first real job. And I showed up to my first job was at Howe. So I showed up to Howe and I didn't know anybody, but the speech pathologist who I was going to be working on under was Danette. And she was super welcoming, super friendly, like just an open book, willing to teach me anything, willing to help me. And I started with the preschool program. And I'm sure there's a lot of people on here that know that we used to have a very robust preschool program. It was called DEEP, and it was at-risk preschool. And it had 2 or 3 different classes, which would be like 6 to 8 different sessions because they were half day. And so I got put in this program along with early childhood. And there was also Judy Brothman. She was another speech pathologist. And I met Patty Friss, the occupational therapist, and Terry Anima Walsh. And if you're old enough to know who they are, like that's like one of the most welcoming, happiest group of ladies you'll ever meet. And they were so kind. And I just took me under their wing. I also have to give a shout out my good friend Susie Costello. I always say she was my first friend in Beach Park. And she definitely introduced me to people. She would bring me with her friends after work, and it became this whole network of friendships. And I know that you and I, because we were friends prior to being married, we have this core group of friends that started in Beach Park. And for me, it started with her. and her generosity and kindness and her excitement about teaching, and that like is contagious. So that's what got me excited to come to work every day, and I loved that job. And a funny story about that is most people back in the day, because my mom was a teacher, she was like, you have to dress very professionally to go to work. So when I first started at How, I always wore like dress pants, a nice sweater, and high heels. And so after my first month of working at How, one of the teachers came up to me and was like, Laura, like people think you're the principal when you walk down the hallway. Like you don't actually have to wear high heels to work. And if at the time her name was Dr. Delman and she was the principal, and she used to always like trot down the hallway in her heels, and I never wore a pair of heels to work after that.
It's a good story.
Yeah.
And that's a crew of people. Like
Yeah.
that's a crew of people. So as a veteran staff member now, I mean, it's your 20th year.
Hmm.
Hard to believe. How do you see the
Yeah.
district supporting a new speech language pathologist that comes in an onboarding process?
Gosh, well, we're very fortunate at this time to just have so many great SLPs that have given a commitment to our district. Some of them work for the district and some of them are contractual. And even our contractual workers, they like it and they continue to come back. We are our own little network because we're such a small group. We rely on each other all the time. It'll be like, hey, I have this kid. Can you help me problem solve? And so I think the support is just built in with coming to work in the district and knowing that you have a team of people that are just always there to support you. I'm here to help you. Use me as a resource, because teachers go through a mentorship program. Speech pathologists don't necessarily, especially if you're experienced. You don't really get it, that kind of mentoring program. So I always just offer it, and whatever you need, if you want to come borrow something from my room or you got to ask me a question, it's just, and I know the other SLPs in the district are super open to help as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen it firsthand for sure. I think for our audience, if they don't know this, I mean, Beach Park District 3, it's 4 elementaries, it's a middle school. And we are so fortunate that in every building, we have a speech language pathologist, we have a social worker, we
Mhm.
have access to psychologists, and OT and PT. I know your building is heavy on that. And sometimes there's multiple social workers. But
Mhm.
from a recruiting standpoint, somebody who goes and works with a lot of personnel departments throughout the state of Illinois, in the connections I've made, that's not everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a lot of traveling speech pathologists, traveling
Mhm.
workers. So I think it's such a great place to be when it comes to support. So I just wanted to make sure that that was out there. I understand you're going to be soon taking on a graduate student intern. So what most excites you about that opportunity?
Yeah, gosh, I'm super excited. And she's starting in March. I've done like clinical fellowship years, which is your first year out of graduate school. I've mentored those students, but it looks a little different to support a graduate school intern. Her name is Haley, and she is coming soon. And I'm just excited to like pass on knowledge. And like I said before, when I first graduated, I was a paraprofessional. So that meant I always had a speech language pathologist supervisor. And most of what I learned came from great mentorship. And I was given so many great mentors in my career, and I took from all of them. And I made this into who I am. And so I really am excited for the opportunity to teach someone what I know. I'm excited to change someone's mind if maybe they're thinking, like, I want to go into the medical setting. I want to be like, no, the schools are where it's at. Like, just show somebody else how great this job is and give her my knowledge. And hopefully she takes some of it and she takes a little bit from everybody, just like I did, and becomes her own SLP.
That's
So
fantastic.
I'm pumped.
Yeah, good. I
Yeah.
can feel it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's a survival tip you'd give a new hire navigating their first 90 days in our district?
Survival. Oh, don't give up. It's hard. Everybody's first couple of years are hard. It's a lot of work. I would say my best advice would be make a friend, sit in the teacher's lounge. Don't isolate yourself to your classroom. Get to know people, just show your face around the building. and make a friend, like, because everybody needs somebody at work. So find your person and just be present.
Great advice. Could you describe that feeling when a student finally matches a goal they've been working on for months in your room with you? How does that impact the culture of your speech room, and what's that feeling like?
That's a great feeling. Like, it's the feeling that brings you back every time. And I'm super fortunate that I have a job in which most of my kids who I have in kindergarten, I get to follow through all the way to 5th grade. So unless they've graduated at some point in between then, and I always tell parents, because I think they're like, oh, you're a speech pathologist, you're like going to fix my kid, and how long is that going to take? And I tell parents, like, it's not a race, it's a marathon, and you will see the gradual progress. And I sit with parents all the time in 5th grade transition meetings, and I'm like, gosh, look at how far your kid came to the little kid that showed up in kindergarten, and now this preteen kid who's going to the middle school, and look at the growth they've made. And you might not see that in a couple months, and you might not see that in a year or even 2 years. But when you get to see a kid develop from kindergarten to 5th grade, wow, it's profound. Like, you see some huge changes, and you make great relationships with parents, and you make great relationships with kids. So,
Yeah. You mentioned just spending time in professional learning communities and going to problem solving team meetings. So you spend a lot of time collaborating with classroom teachers and special
mm.
education teams. What does that team around the child approach at Oak Crest look like, and how does it help you do your job better?
Ooh, that's a good question. We have great teams here, and it's not always necessarily just sitting in a meeting. It's a moving part throughout the day of like, oh, hey, I have this question. Like, I know I can go to so and she's going to be able to support me. I'm going to finish an evaluation. I'm going to walk downstairs and see the psychologist and be like, whoa, what do you think this means? And I work with the interventionist, and a lot of us share similar kids. We know a lot of the same kids, and so it's really easy to communicate about them. We're always talking. Like, we eat lunch together, sometimes we meet in the morning together, so we're always talking kids, and that's teamwork. Like, it's like a constant communication of, "Ooh, this didn't go so well, do you have a recommendation on how I could make this better, or how I can implement something, or do you have something for this?" So, team, that's not necessarily just happening in a once a week meeting. It's always happening at Oak Crest.
Yeah, so that's a very connected culture. So maybe in line with
Yeah.
that, when you see a student out in the playground, in the lunchroom, using the skills that you practice in therapy with you, what kind of conversation is happening with your colleagues? Are you bringing that back to be like, you're not
Oh,
going to,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're like mini celebrations. We'll be like, "Guess who did what?" And, like, maybe it's an assignment they completed, or, you see some of the skills that you have taught being utilized in the classroom. So, it's a great feeling.
yeah.
I mean, like I said, that's what keeps us going, like the little moments of celebrations.
How would you say that Beach Park District 3 supported your growth as a speech pathologist? And do you feel like encouraged to continue to pursue new certifications? Are you maxed out, or what kind of requirements do you have in your position?
I'm pretty maxed out. I have hit the end of PD in which my degree will allow me. Teachers can graduate and then they can get different degrees in different areas like curriculum instruction, leadership, special education. There are many ways that teachers can like go out and further their education. When you have a degree in like social work, or you have a degree in speech pathology or occupational therapy, all of your education is front loaded. And so we max out as soon as we finish our master's degree. What we do is continue to develop our knowledge in certain areas through professional development. Last week, I was just at the Illinois Speech and Hearing Conference, and it's a 2-day conference where many presenters come. They present on different topics, some of them school-based, some of them medical-based, and you're just constantly learning. We're groups of people who are just constantly like, okay, what's the latest information in autism? What's the latest information in stuttering? What's the latest information in expanding expressions? So we're always learning when it comes to degrees, like we're topped out.
How would you say Beach Park has helped you continue that?
I always tell people, which is funny because I was at Isha last week, and people often are recruiting at these events, and their therapy, their like clinics or other school districts. And I had a conversation with somebody from a close district near to us, and they said, "What keeps you in Beach Park?" And I said, "Well, I appreciate the support. Like, I feel super supported. Mr. Seda, who's the director of special education, like, if you know him, he's a yes guy. So if you put in your purchase order, he's going to buy it. If you want to go to a training, he's going to support you. If you want a membership to monthly professional development, he's going to support you." Beach Park is just like, it's a great place, and they often don't stifle you wanting to learn more. They encourage that. And I love that. Like, I love that I'm not restricted, because I talk to so many other speech pathologists that work in school districts, and it's like, "Oh, well, my district doesn't pay for that." Or, like, I came to this state conference on my own and I paid for it. Like, that's just not the Beach Park mentality. So they want us to learn, and they want us to be the best at our jobs. So
Yeah.
they support that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. And that's great
Yeah.
for people to hear. I absolutely would parallel the same answer. It
Yeah.
doesn't, regardless of what your position is, like the district really is all in on making sure we have what we need. And if they can't figure it out now, they're going to find a way.
Absolutely.
It's pretty, it's very impressive, and it's wonderful to be a part of that. So we have to talk about it. We met at Oak Crest Elementary, right?
Yeah.
Probably 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
What do you think it was about that environment of that building that allowed us to not only grow as professionals, but also like start a life together? Like what brought all that together?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
Looking back, that those are different memories and a different time of this building and this district. And there's been a lot of change since then. You would know that most of the people that we all worked with then do not work here anymore. So it was a very special time period that I think meant a lot to our group of friends at that time. And a lot of us still continue to be friends, even though we've moved on, or some of us have stayed. So it almost was an undescribable feeling as to the climate and culture at that time. It was fun, and it was like, I don't even have words for just like the experience and the friendships.
It's the culture. Like, it was the
Hmm.
culture at the time,
Hmm.
and I don't think
Yeah.
the culture's much different. I think we're older. I mean,
I
we're
think we're older too.
definitely older, right? I remember walking
Yeah.
into the building and seeing people who were my age and thinking, "Man, they're old." The
Yeah.
irony is that they're still here. Like,
Yeah.
old now, and they're still
Yeah.
here. So,
Yeah.
I think some of it's like this, it's a unique, alchemy of how old you are coming in young, you're building a culture, you're interested, at a young age. I think we're just trying to be a part of everything, and our administrator at the time was building these opportunities where we spent time outside of school, or we just
Yeah.
took the initiative to spend time outside of school and get to know people. But,
Yeah.
there was also things like response to intervention was starting. PBIS had just been started.
PBIS.
The buildings were just like, how do we do RTI? What is PBIS? How do we do PBIS? And committees, we needed committees. We needed people to do these things. And it was like, it was the younger staff that really had the time and the commitment and the drive, uh, and the lack of commitments to allow us to be in these moments together. And I just get
Yeah.
excited about that part for our young teachers now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young teachers in our district, and I really want their experience to be much similar to like being young in education and finding friendships at people that are around you and spending time outside of school. It just goes so far because the friends that we made when we first started working together are and those who are still here. And they're not here because they left to go work somewhere else. They really, it was life had changed for them.
Mhm.
So you're good, that's gonna happen regardless of your age or where you're at in your
Yeah.
career, but what a cool thing and what a cool time to kinda just be around, and it really comes down to, I think, the culture fostered this ability to just connect with people, so
Yeah, I mean, and that's why that's my advice to all new teachers is make a friend, be present, because that's what's kept me in Beach Park, and that's what makes me like coming to work. And I think that that above all is very important. And Mr. Smith talked about, our lock-ins, and
yeah.
that's how we developed these friendships and through these after-school activities, whether they were at school at a lock-in or fifth grade dance or a mother-daughter dance or all these activities that we were doing because we were starting these PBIS committees and, just trying to be creative and, you become friends with the people that you spend time with. And
Yeah.
so,
100%.
yeah,
And we're all about the district is all about from the district office down and administration of the buildings, like, we're all about creating clubs and being innovative and thinking outside the box and
yeah,
really trying new things. So if anyone, the people that are listening and thinking, "I got an idea," bring that idea to your building leadership team, bring it to your administrator, bring it to your problem-solving team.
yeah,
We're so fortunate in the district to just have the capacity to really entertain just about any idea, right?
yeah, yeah.
Who's somebody at Oak Crest that makes your job easier, inspires you every day, to be better at your position and supports you? Anybody you wanna give a shout out to?
Yes. 2 shout outs. One, I'm gonna shout out my fellow SLPs. We work hard, we're often unrecognized, like, we're kinda in the backgrounds a lot of time making changes. So, all of my SLPs, there's Trisha at Newport, there's Jamie at the middle school, Margie at KM, who has so much sacrifice to also help at Howe this year. There's Gina and Arena here. So, we are a tight group and we can't do it without each other. And clearly not just because she shouted me out. Well,
Well,
my best friend, and she's the buzz to my Woody, Brooke Turk. Like, she's the resource teacher here. She's phenomenal. She's an inspiration to just always be better and to sacrifice and just have a positive outlook and don't let the negativity like get in your brain. Like, you can, like, think of the positives. And she's a great resource and she keeps me thinking. I know she said that as well. Like, we often have these conversations in which we're problem solving and talking about things outside of school and how we can be better at our jobs. I mean, she's the best. She listens when you need somebody to talk to, and, she's my person.
sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, how do you think that the district supports maintaining a healthy balance between our professional and our personal lives?
Healthy balance. That's a tough question. I'm not quite sure there is a healthy balance.
No?
Especially when you're married to somebody who works in the district, when your best friend also works in the district. So, like, the school's always on my brain. The job is always on my brain. We have lots of conversations about school and things we'd like to see and how things are going. Like, the true break comes in the summer where I can just wind down and walk away and let you go to work and I get to like chill. And I think that having the summers off is definitely key to being a great educator because it's like it's like a period of refreshment, and then you come back and you're super excited and you give it your all for another 9 months, and then you like completely can like disconnect. So that's the healthy balance is summer vacation.
I'm just thinking, like, have you had any struggles or any resistance from the district when you need to have the time that you're not able to take it?
Oh gosh, no. No, that's never been an issue.
When life happens, right? Like, life happens.
Life happens. Yeah, I've always been afforded the opportunity to take the time needed under all administration. Like, I've worked for many different superintendents, many different principals. I think everybody that I have worked for has always maintained family is first,
Yeah.
and we will make everything else work, but family is first, and family is super important. Like, time is finite, and you only have so much time. And when that time is needed, like the district has always been like, nope, you go do your thing. We'll be here. Let me know when you're ready to come back.
Yeah. I would totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Because life does happen and there's a lot of
Yeah.
interesting things that take place, but I've seen it in every single role, whether I was a teacher, an administrator, or an administrator in the district office. I can firsthand tell you that we do our best to make sure that we can accommodate anybody's, particularly when it comes to unique moments in life, milestones, and anything else where you're needed somewhere outside of the walls of the district. So I totally agree
Yeah.
with that. What do you think?
Yeah.
What would you say Beach Park does better than another district that you've seen to keep its staff feeling appreciated and seen?
I can't pinpoint like one thing. I think Beach Park is a unique place. I have not had another school-based job outside of this job, so I only speak to like experiences I hear from other people. When I did my internship, I did have to leave Beach Park for that year, and I did go work in a different school district. And I talked to people that have worked at Beach Park and have left, and, my advice is always the grass is not always greener, and to take a look at the situation you have, and it's probably pretty great.
Yeah.
So, I think Beach Park is a very unique, tiny, big community that is, it's just a great place to be.
Yeah.
I have I've had I don't know if I can say that. I have many offers. Like being a speech pathologist, they're very hard to come by. And there generally are not enough to staff buildings or even medical, hospitals or clinics. So people are always recruiting. I have been made offers regularly for much more money
Yeah.
to come work somewhere else. And my answer is always like, this is where I belong. This is my family. Like, I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
So I'm like a walking billboard of like, this is great. I know I have a great situation here. I love my job. I love my kids. I love my families. I love my coworkers. And money can't always buy happiness.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know?
No, I've seen you get the offers.
Yeah.
I've been around for it.
Yeah.
It's the truth. It's the
Yeah.
absolute truth. You guys are unicorns. It's like working
Mhm.
with a group of related service unicorns. You could all,
Yeah.
right? So what can we do to keep you? And it's really just love our people and try to
Yeah.
do everything we can because we don't always have control over the money part, right?
No.
And when you walk into a room of 250 or 500 graduates looking for positions, the first thing they're looking for is money, and no one really. It's hard to explain culture. That's why the
Yeah.
podcast exists. This is the only way to see the real story is to talk to people in our district, to connect our culture so we can meet people that we don't know because we work here. But it's been a really unique opportunity. And when I'm out recruiting, I play the podcasts. And
Yeah.
students want to say, well, what is this? You have a podcast? These are just the people that work here. I'm going to spend my time as a recruiter for Beach Park District 3, a guy who just genuinely loves it. I've been here for 20 years selling Beach Park to people. But
Yeah.
they know I'm doing that. I tell them I'm doing that. I'm trying to make Beach Park look the best that it can. And I can't compete with affluent district salaries. But when they can go and use a QR code and look at our podcasts and they can hear from genuine people that work in the district who have worked here a long time and maybe not a long time and hear their experiences, that's just authenticity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's been the piece of this where it's like these are real stories. I didn't give you any of your answers, and when I meet with people on the podcast, it's all about the person that's the guest. So just providing an opportunity through questioning to share a story, I think is really fantastic. It's been very fruitful because it's something that no many other districts aren't doing, but at the same time, it's just authentic.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 I think so too. And, hearing from somebody that works there is a whole lot different than hearing from an administrator who wants you to come work there.
Absolutely right. All right, we'll switch gears. Fun questions.
Okay.
Some of the
I-
you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. This is for the audience too. So who do you think's actually a better morning person? Me, the administrator, or you, the SLP?
Yeah, well, that's a no-brainer. Like, I'm not a morning person at all. So you
Okay.
always,
All right.
yeah. Yeah, you're out the door before I've even rolled over.
That's the absolute truth. That is the truth.
Yeah,
You're right. We don't see each other in the
exactly.
morning. You are sleeping when I leave.
Yes.
What's your favorite speech room game?
Okay. If you've not been to my room, you know that my room is filled with games. I have many games because part of speech therapy is playing games because playing games is learning. And I think our kids spend so much time on technology and computers and tablets and phones that they just, and the 30 minutes they come to my room, they love to play a game. So we might be working on a skill and playing a game. And we're working, and that game might be colors, numbers, taking turns. Oh, the skill of losing is also a skill, and being a gracious winner. I love games. I always play games. My kids love those games where it's like you like pop the pig, like you pop his head so many times his belly's gonna burst, or like the gobble monster and his tongue comes out and you take things off. And as speech pathologists, we don't have a curriculum. So teachers have many different materials in which they have to follow, like HMH or Bridges. We don't have curriculum, so we have to be very creative in how we do therapy and how we meet goals. And most of the time we're using games or interactive tools. And I have kindergartners and fifth graders alike that still think it's cool to come and play the games. They love it every time.
All right. If
Yeah.
you're grabbing a quick lunch during the workday, what's your go-to spot in the community?
The lady at McDonald's, because Brooke and I often drive through the McDonald's, know that we come as a team. And if we come alone, she's always like, where's the other one? And so we like to just drive through the McDonald's on Sheridan and Wadsworth. And I love just a nugget or a fry and a Diet Coke.
All right. Well, I think you're sneaking out more than that because today, rarely do I go out and get something to eat. And I went to Subway, and the very first thing they said at Subway was, "Where's your wife?" And
I did eat at Subway this week.
I know. Then I said, "She's at work," and she goes, "Oh, well, she was in here the other day getting a sub sandwich." I'm telling her, you just told on her. She snuck over here, got a sandwich.
Yeah. Well, and thankfully I had the $6.99 meal of the day.
Okay,
So,
well, they know you
yeah.
at Subway too, just so you know. They know that we're married at
No.
Subway.
Yeah, they do know we're married at Subway.
What's one thing about being a speech pathologist people would be surprised to learn?
Oh, I don't know. I would say probably, I touched on it a little at the beginning of, just the education and the training, and that I literally could walk into a hospital tomorrow and treat somebody who has a swallowing disorder or voice, or work on cognition type activities or give swallow studies. Like, it is such a diverse job. And they like to just add things under that umbrella of like, oh, well, a speech pathologist can do that. We just are trained in a lot of different areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you currently binge watching?
Love is Blind. I love a good Housewives of Beverly Hills. We're watching The Pit. And we're watching the newest of the Game of Thrones series.
How do you
Yeah.
juggle it all?
It's my downtime. So when I go home at night,
Well, just for the audience, I don't actually get a chance to watch much of those. Once in a while, I can get the Pit and I can get the Game of Thrones, the serious ones, but the other TV is like it's on in the background.
it's on in the background. Generally, when you're doing like grad school work.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
your favorite memory from our early years working together at Oak Crest?
Okay. So I have so many memories, and they would all just be from the early years, eating lunch together, sitting in the front office, and John would order lunch for everybody, or we'd go and get tacos, or just some of those early years together and the time we spent together created a lot of great memories.
For
Our
sure.
baseball games, fun, the fun Fridays, the overnights,
Yeah,
you
the
know,
overnights, man.
the overnights.
Lock-ins. Wow.
Yeah, the lock-ins. So,
Those were moments.
yeah.
If you were to trade jobs for one day, what part of being an HR director would terrify you the most?
Adult conversations, I don't know, those are tough. I think it's tougher to have adult conversations than it is to have kid conversations. So
Fair
I
enough.
like to stick with my tinies.
Fair enough. What's your favorite
Yeah.
concert you've ever attended, and where was it and why?
Okay, so as most people, I've listened to all the podcasts. So I knew this one was coming, and I grew up going to concerts. My mom and dad always took us to Summerfest. And back in the day at Summerfest, like if you were one of the first 1,000 people to walk through the gate, you got a stamp on your hand and you could go see whatever big concert and sit in the lawn for free.
Yeah.
And so, like, my parents would take me to that all the time. And so I saw a lot of concerts that way. And my cousin owned a bar, and this bar would do these like yearly bus trips to go see Jimmy Buffett at Alpine Valley. And as like a 9, 10, 12-year-old, I would get on this bus of people with my mom, and we would go to Alpine Valley and listen to Jimmy Buffett. And that was always a blast. So
Okay.
I've always loved concerts. You and I, like, that's one of our favorite things to do. We probably go see 4 or 5 concerts a year. We are people who travel to go see music. So,
True.
we wouldn't think twice to get on a plane to go to Denver and see something in Vail or Red Rocks. I always think Coldplay is my favorite band. So anytime I can see Coldplay, like it's always like moving for me. Like it sometimes will bring me to tears, like being in these concerts, because it's just such a surreal moment. And our favorite band is OAR. And, like we've done the free stage in Milwaukee at Summerfest and gotten there early, and we stood right at the front and seen them front row for free. And we've also seen them at Red Rocks and in Vail. And every concert creates a memory, like a core memory, right?
Yeah.
And they all mean something so different. Like,
Yeah.
I've taken my mom to see Neil Diamond and Rod Stewart, and it's just such a center for my life. And I can pinpoint moments in my life at which concerts I went to, and I don't know.
Well, the question was, what was your favorite one?
I don't have a favorite. That's the answer. The answer is I don't have a favorite because they all have a different meaning.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have 3 dogs. So, what kind of dogs are they?
2 Frenchies and a pug,
Okay. Which one's your favorite?
Lily.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have 1 daughter. Is she your favorite daughter?
Yeah, she's my favorite daughter. I got 1 daughter. She's my favorite.
Okay.
She's
And,
the best.
yeah, she is the best. If you could
She
pick
is the
anything
best.
for dinner tonight, what would it be?
I hate picking dinner. Well, if you're asking me what my favorite dinner is, it's always a filet somewhere.
Okay. What's
Yeah.
the most annoying part of being married to the director of human resource?
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the most annoying part?
Yeah.
Like for me, you don't have a work-life balance. So when you come home from work, you're still working. And when you're not working, you're in HR things with your HR friends, or, you're in grad school. So I would say that, like the most annoying part would be like, you don't know how to say no. And you're always willing to have a conversation with anybody at any time, whether it's during a show that we paid for and you leave dinner to go have a conversation with somebody. That's probably the most annoying thing about you.
I grind. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. I would agree with that. Those questions are all really just for me, audience. They're actually not for you, but this gives you some insight into what my life is like. So
Yeah.
that's good. Well, listen, thank you for being a guest on Beyond the Bell. I mean,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, as a representative of the incredible specialized staff that we have in this district, you did a great job. Your work literally gives our students the ability to share their thoughts, their feelings, their dreams with the world. And that really is the highest form of education. You really do such great work, and so do all of our staff. I know that you're a bright ray of sunshine every single time you walk into the room. You're a powerful advocate for our students and our parents, and your commitment to Beach Park District 3, definitely at Oak Crest in particular. It's clearly unwavering, 20 years, and I think anybody that knows you would say exactly the same things. But more importantly, I gotta say thank you for being my best friend. You're the best. You're better than I
Thanks.
deserve, and I am so very grateful for you. And I know you know that because I do tell you that. And if anyone were to ask me, I would tell them she's better than I deserve. So
Yeah.
if you're listening and you're a clinician, an SLP, a related service personnel, a social worker, OT, PT, you're looking for a district where you're treated as a vital part of our instructional team and a member of our family, this is the district for you. We want you here. We want you to be part of our family. And you can always go to our website at www.bpd3.org and check out our employment opportunities to find your place here in our family. You can always search my name too, Gabe Cappozzo, Director of Human Resource, and reach out to me. I want to thank you to everyone, to all of our teachers, to all of our staff for doing everything that they do every single day at the expense of working outside of work hours and getting up from the table at dinner and taking the phone call and always grinding. Your work doesn't go unnoticed, and there's no possible way not to recognize the impact that you have on our population of students, our staff, and our community. I'm going to ask you, if you're not a member and you are in our community, please take the time to watch our podcast, get to know who we are. We are so proud of being here, and I want to say thank you to the audience for taking the time to listen. You can find us on all your favorite podcast channels, whether that be YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and all the social media clips out there on anything that's on your phone right now that you can swipe up on. I can tell you, you're going to find BPD3 Beyond the Bell there. Otherwise, Laura Cappozzo, anything else for the good of the order?
No, that was awesome. I would encourage more people, if they are interested in joining the podcast. It's super fun. It's awesome. I personally have listened to all of them multiple times, and I learned something about so many of my different colleagues, and I would love to learn more about other people working in our district. So come do the podcast.
Yeah, I second that. Definitely.
If I can be here, you can be here.
100%. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate the shout out. I guess on that note, we can just say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.